right, a very fun video today. We're going to talk about all the promo codes that exist in the game, hidden promo codes. We're going to talk about stats, which ones are good and bad. Well, it depends, and what they actually mean, and their caps. We're also going to talk about what it means if you have one piece of gear that you want and the odds of finding the other three, how that works. It's not as good as you think. Also, we're going to talk about an effective PvP strategy where if you're playing a flyer and you're playing up against Black Widow, Spider-Man, or Captain America, super cheesy. Now, Marvel, fix your game. Oh my God, it's broken. First things first, let's talk about promo codes. There are 7 working promo codes in the game. I'm going to move out of the way here so you can see them all. And basically, you can go into the game and you can put this in the coupon code, but this will not work on iOS. You actually have to do it manually on the website. A link to this Reddit post will be in the description. Now we have a stat table, and I want to go over this stat table, but more importantly than that, I want to show how what each stat means and their caps, but also the names of the stats recently changed. If we go in game and you go into the main menu, go into heroes, hero info, and then when you load up right here, you can press the level button and then you get the stat effect. And the stat effect is right here, and you can see what the stats are in your character, right? And so we're going to go over the description for them. And also, some of the names have changed, like hit rate. We didn't know what hit rate was, but they now changed the hit rate name to max damage rate. We'll get an explanation of what that means. First things first, a lot of these are self-explanatory, but they have caps. Attack increases your damage dealt to enemy. Defense reduces the damage dealt to your enemy. And I just want to point out the defense pierce is pretty much the counterattack to defense right there. HP is the maximum amount of damage. I mean, we all know what HP is. That's the amount of HP you have. HP recovery increases all healing effects. So that's kind of cool. Has a maximum limit of 200%. On my personal Iron Man build, I prefer HP over HP recovery, but to each their own. Stamina, resource for using all skills. And basically the stamina bar is up on the top. Well, it's up here in the corner when you're playing the game. It's like up there when you're playing. And this is going to be important when you'll see that like an ability's on cooldown, but it's grayed out. That's because you don't have any of the stamina and it's yellow. It's not that important unless you're using a high stamina build. It's actually kind of annoying when you run out of stamina. Increases your stamina recovery rate 200%. Ultimate skill gauge recovery increases your ultimate gauge recovery rate. That caps at 200%. Now, these right here, dodge accuracy rate and dodge rate, I believe they were changed in game. No, they're still called accuracy rate and dodge rate. I believe, first of all, accuracy is the opposite of dodge. Basically, the more accuracy I can counteract your super annoying dodge, Mr. Spider-Man. I get it. It's kind of important because I believe dodge is going to be one of the best stats in the game. And for me, I almost always prefer using dodge over defense, let's say on those blue cores. And I believe that's true with most characters, except for maybe a specialized build with Captain America, where you actually want the defense to be boosted because it's a function of his attack. But dodge is probably one of the best stats in the game. I prefer it over anything. Has a cap at 75%. And the accuracy rate has a cap at 175%. Critical rate caps at 75%, and critical damage caps at 300%. So that's very interesting. You can overdo it, basically. Defense pierce, and I'm not sure how important this is. Dab! On your haters, defense pierce increases the enemy's defense by a certain percentage. Ignores their defense. So this is pretty much the opposite of defense. It counteracts that. I'm not sure how important that is. Hit rate. Now, this was changed. The name for hit rate was changed in game. It's no longer called hit rate. It is now referred to as max damage rate. And I don't know how good this is, but I want to explain what it is. Has a cap at 100%. The probability damage inflicted on an enemy will be fixed at a maximum. So in the game, when you do damage, of course it can crit, it could not crit. But in addition to that, there's a minimum and a maximum amount of damage you can do. And that's why the number goes up and down with every hit, and every hit doesn't have the same amount. And that has to do with the hit rate, or now they're calling it the max damage rate, where basically it brings that lower number up. So I'm not really sure about how important this is, because 28% what? It's not 28% more damage. It just brings the bottom up a little bit. I don't believe that's going to be 28% more damage. I don't know how effective that is. We're going to have to do more testing. I'm not a fan. When the game came out 2 months ago, we thought this hit rate had to do with some sort of like speed and channeling speed. And maybe you want to use it on Storm because their cast times are so slow. No, it has to do with the spread on the damage when, you know, sometimes it does 99, other times it does 110, other times it does 89. Well, that brings that bottom number up. Not sure how important that is. We will see. I'll let you know. We'll do more testing, right? Cooldown decrease reduces the cooldown overuse of skill. That caps out at 50%. So you don't really want to get that too high. You know, that's an important one. But then at some point you start running into stamina problems if your cooldowns are too fast. Complicated thing. Total damage increases the damage dealt to enemies once more. And I don't understand why they have total damage and attack. I'm sure it has to do with the multiplier. I'm uncertain whether total damage or attack is more important. But this is not good that they have something called max damage rate, total damage, and attack. Okay, then. We'll figure it out. We'll do more testing, and we'll get back to it. Debuff resistance. Now, they changed the name of this. They changed this name in-game now to call it status effect resistance and status effect accuracy. If you're coming from Galaxy of Heroes, that's the equivalent of potency and tenacity. Marvel Strike Force, that's going to be focus versus resistance. So it's pretty logical. This has to do with the ability to land negative effects. This is going to be super important for characters that depend on negative effects. Let's say like Storm or Star-Lord. A lot of other characters might be able to ignore that. It's kind of nice if you can't ignore it because then you can focus on damage or something else. Increases their hit chance of status effects, 200% on the accuracy, 100% cap on the resistance. PvP damage and PvP damage decrease. So I'm not that interested in PvP damage decrease. I'd rather just do more damage and then hope I get lucky or dodge attacks. That's why I think dodge is so much important. Dodge. I'd rather have dodge all day long than damage decrease. My goodness. PvP damage is 75% cap. And I just want to say this. At some point, I'm finding that all characters and all classes can clear all the raid bosses and all the blitz bosses. And it's not that big of a deal. It really just isn't. And so how important is supervillain damage? I don't know. Compared to PvP damage, I'm going to say PvP damage is probably a lot more important end game. And it's also kind of making me want to consider I have an Iron Man main who's fun. He does a lot of damage. I understand that. But PvP damage is becoming more and more important. And there's certain characters that seem to excel at PvP. Specifically off my top of my head, the two that I can think of would be like Black Widow and Spider-Man. So I just want to say, in general, certain builds are going to be focused on PvP damage. Now, currently, the build I'm working on does damage everywhere. And then I'm going to probably focus on specialized sets, one for supervillains and one for PvP damage. But that's kind of nuanced, kind of late game. Then we have guard damage. I'm not a fan of guard damage, and I understand that there's going to be some guard damage builds. But I feel like just focusing on crit or crit chance or just attack in general is going to be more effective than guard damage. I don't need to stun the opponents that often. I need them to die, right? And I just don't think this is a good stat overall. Not a fan. 100% cap on each of those. Super valid damage increase. Again, I mean, I think that's fine. But I think at some point in the game, like where I am right now, and I'm sure this will change if they come out with more new content, but every character can beat everything on auto at some point if you have enough power. And I don't need more super villain damage increase. What I need is more PvP increase. So I'm not sure how important this is, but probably is going to lead towards two builds. But for me, I'm kind of steer clear of super villain damage as opposed to just regular damage. I think that's just a better way of going, even though you do get higher stats on supervillain and PvP, but versus just having static damage or normal damage. But I think most people run two builds at this point. Increases damage dealt to supervillains, and supervillains are going to be like the most wanteds and the primes. 75%. Surface to air and air to surface seems so situational. I think is a garbage stat. Not a fan. And then I also think village damage down here at the bottom, which is non-primes, non-bosses, just like regular minions, I guess. I don't think that's good at all. I feel like these stats down here are not that good. Or I should be more specific on this. There may be specialized builds. I think all of these stats probably are good somewhere, right? But I think there's specialized builds in certain situations. And I think certain abilities are less situational than others. And I prefer to use the abilities where I can use them in more situations rather than the one chance that I'm doing surface to air. Just seems so nuanced and not helpful overall. Also, let's talk about this. Right now I'm playing in the soft launch or beta Omega Flight server. It was brought up on Discord by one of the Netmarble moderators on the official Discord. Soft launch Omega Flight will be eventually merged with other American East servers. And then right here goes on and says it only is alone right now because of its unfair advantage. That's right. We've been playing for 2 months, but eventually we're going to be matched up against other people. There are no population problem because it is a cross server and MOBA. And I was thinking about this, like when you're going, let's say you're running around and you're going from you're in the Hydra zone and you're looking for Red Skull, and you can cycle between different zones. Like there's you can go into zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, which are just instances, and then, you know, depending on how populated it is in an area, you know, we'll say saturated, congested, so on, or smooth, and you could toggle the thing. But if you're looking for bosses, you toggle between them. And in the Mega Flight, we only have 3. There's always like a minimum of 3, but on these larger servers that came out of global launch, I'm hearing that people have 5 or 6 or more, and that means you can find those super villains, those prime bosses, a lot easier. Specifically, you're looking for certain Omega cards, like the 2 that I currently am looking for constantly seems to be Loki and Red Skull. So that is of interest. Now, I want to talk about this, and I'm going to link this into the video. Darth Microtransaction, I suggest checking this out. And he was looking for the Far East regional set, which is super rare. And he spent $1,000 custom drives. I believe he was about $800 in before he found one piece. And so someone in my chat said, "Oh, $800 for one piece." Well, he only needs to pull 3 more. You know, it's 8 times 4, 3,200. I was like, no, it's a lot more expensive than that. And the reason for that is because, yeah, once you've spent, and we don't know the number, let's just say let's just keep numbers really simple, because I don't want to say it's $800, whatever. Let's just say it costs $100 to get a piece. And I'm being generous by saying that $100 to get one of these new super rare new regional pieces. The first one you get, and you had a 100% chance of getting a piece that you can use. Well, then you have to spend another $100 and maybe you get another pull. But 75% of the time, you're going to get a new piece, where the other 25% of the time, you're going to get a duplicate that's not that useful. Then once you have 2 pieces, it's a 50% chance you're going to get a duplicate. Once you have 3 out of 4 pieces, you're going to have 25% of the time, it's not going to be a duplicate, but 3/4 of the time, meaning he's going to have to pull a total of 8.3 drops of that particular set to get have a complete 4-piece. So once you have 1, you need 7.3 more to go. And if that cost him $800, you can multiply the $800 times 8.3. He has to do 7.3 more drops. Thousands and thousands of dollars. And we don't know the exact numbers because they're not published. But even if it costs $100, that means that the total complete set would cost $830 to do it. And I just wanted to visualize this for you. So this is a 4-sided dice, and I'm going to roll it until I have all 4 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4. So right now I have 0 pieces. First roll, I rolled a 4, right? Which is my pinky, right? 1 roll, 2 rolls. Here we go. Right there. So we got to do it. 2 rolls, 3 rolls, right? Duplicate, 4 rolls. Duplicate, 5 rolls. Duplicate, 6 rolls. Duplicate, 7 rolls. Duplicate, 8 rolls. New piece, 9 rolls. 9 rolls to get 1 of each piece. So that's what I'm saying, that on average, you know, if it's a 1 in 100 drop, that means you have to pull 833 before you have a complete set. It's not like just getting 4. It's a lot more complicated than that. Lastly, let's talk about something that is upsetting to me, and this was posted on the Marvel Future Revolution Reddit by Mr. Finer, Mr. Doctor, Game Please. Yeah, Netmarble, fix your game. He is severely stronger than this Doctor Strange, and the Captain America is at an extreme disadvantage because he can't fly. What happens is the battle loads up. The Doctor Strange comes in and does a ranged attack and does 1,800 damage to him. A little bit of damage. Then the Doctor Strange immediately flies to the top of the map, nowhere to be seen for the next minute and a half, and wins the match. This is garbage. This is garbage. This means that somebody that is a non-ranged character, a non-flyer character, like Captain America, I think there's some ways of getting around this, I'm sure, with Black Widow and Spidey. And Spidey, because he's got the web thing, but on the large part, Spidey is not a flyer. But I think this affects Captain America the most. That basically any level Captain America can get pinged once by any ranged character, fly to the top of the map and hide for a minute and a half and win the match. This is actually trash. I think this is garbage. They need to fix this now because this makes, that particular game mode almost unplayable for Captain America's. What do you think? Okay, so be sure to like and subscribe to this channel. This is the type of videos that I like to put up where I go over news and a range of topics every day. Not necessarily just like one-click things like, oh my God, the best of what. It's always going to be a collection of information. If you want to keep up with what's going down in this game, you can watch and you can subscribe to this channel and get it in one dose a day, because I'm looking everywhere, Discords and Reddits and on Twitch and the official forums. I mean, there's just information scattered all over the internet that's useful for Marvel Future Revolution. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Keep on gaming, and if you have any comments, put them in the comment section, or any questions or anything that you think I might be useful. Bye.